Hawaii today, our lands are facing massive impact from mismanagement. We're also facing disconnection between the land and the people. And we need the land for survival, for healthy food and water, but also to sustain us emotionally and spiritually. Hawaii Land Trust protects and stewards the lands that sustain Hawaii and teaches the next generation to do the same. Together with communities across Hawaii, we've protected tens of thousands of acres of our coastlines, our wahi kupuna or Hawaiian cultural landscapes, and also lands that grow food that feed our people. Our work is organized around 3 pillars, which is protect, steward, and connect.
HILT's Protect work entails permanently protecting land by purchasing it. Another legal tool we use is called conservation easements.
A lot of people think if land's under conservation, it has to just be set aside and be idle. But to actually produce and use the land for agricultural purposes is really important.
Part of that is farming sustainably, caring for the land, caring for the people that work here, but also caring for our neighbors.
The restoration work that we're doing is taking out invasive species. We plant our native plants. We're also working to restore some of our historical sites.
You don't just magically get a healed ecosystem. We have to undo some of the damages that have happened to the land. A healthy, restored ecosystem and a community that benefits from that ecosystem health is really the long-term goal.
It's really important to us as an organization taking that extra step to create those opportunities for people of the community to start a relationship with the place and then strengthen that relationship on an ongoing basis.
Aina and open spaces nourish my whole ohana. Those open places are essential to our well-being.
We've been able to protect the lands that we have and restore the lands that we have because there's so many people who truly care about Hawaii and Hawaii's future. And so the work that we do in protecting these spaces, it's for us now, but it's really also for all future generations to come.
A Constellation of Growth by Azure Koikeolani Iverson Kiahi. Sacred design of stargazer Makua Kaumana, we unearth your name and others along this fertile path of ancestral knowing. Our canoe plant kin whisper the seer's secrets. The stones call out the seasons as the sun dances on their heads. Our stories rest in their lava-stretched pores. Detritus of coconut palms and twisted branches guide us. Sacred steps tamp the trail traced by the fresh snout tillage of boars. We kick up the scent of fertility through meandering hau. We inhale. Reunion and repair. Elbows brushing ki who protect our path. We ascend to where stones align and celebrate the skies, the all-seeing eyes of smashed noni, watching us, exposed to medicinal heavens, navigating seasons of healing, past, present, and future. Na pu'onea waihe'e, for Haumea and all the kupa aina aloha aina and kia'i of waihe'e. Brandy Nalani McDougall. You are still here, the birthplace of salt and wind, of rounded black and red basalt pebbles, glittering olivine, smoothed coral and bone. The waves roll, rock and reef, tangled nets, tarp, plastic bits cut and culled from convenience, dulled glass shards of broken bottles. Everything comes to you freed from what it once was, newly emerged to become the sand in these dunes, to live again. They say before the drains and grates that steal the water of the valley, Lo'ikalo lehua lined the stream banks, their leaves and stalks trembling. Young i'o pounded for the throat-moistening lehua poi. Your springs still gurgle up through the wide archaeology of your iwikua mo'o to nurse ulei, hau, loulu, kawila, kili o opu, no paka, uki uki, po hue hue, uhaloa, ho ava, kawa'u, manono, kaluha, all unfurl, weave their roots, cling to the sands of Mauna Ihi, even as the salt wind bruises their leaves, encrusts them, even as the sun and salt desiccate and sting, even as we all may drift towards such flight, then your water upwells from below, bringing such sweetness to the lokowai, the muliwai. Aloha wai he'e, ika makani pa'akai, aloha nā makani e noho mau. Aloha e aha aha, aloha e akipohe, aloha e kili o pu, aloha no e o pu. Nip and waft, carry rain, mist along the kahawai, above hihiwai, opai, napili, and nakea, blowing billows of sea spray along the lay of dunes, the hidden smoke of o'opu, long past, but also waiting. Aloha wai he'e kaua, anue nui, ke ao akua, ke ao ku, ke ao loa, ke ao onohi. Aloha no e akipohe, aloha no e kili o'opu, circle and fall gently, then thunder upwell the kahakai until full, flowing freely again. Aloha no, e haumea e, nui ka mahalo for all you birthed and shaped and heaped from reef, from mauna, from pali, from ocean floor, all you eroded, carved from ice, wind, and rain, from shell, coral, basalt, and bone to bring us Mauna Ihi. What is sand but a return to life, the brittle bones of before breathing, birthing again? From you we know birth to be just one of many passages that we are born, a flicker of sun, emerge a faint spark or drop. Only the frailest slivers from the branches of Kalauke Kahuli after it was flung into the waves so carelessly that there is pain and labor, the stinging salt of our sweat and tears, our blood, and it is how we learn life is precious. Remember our histories, short and porous as they are. Your pu'uone have much longer memory, have become a peva binding ocean to land, buffering storm surge, offering kapa, makaloa of sand and salt. Cool springs from underground tunnels that hanai pools of lokowai, ho'oipoipo with ocean in the muliwai, where the underground gardens of limu, lacy black, crunchy purple and red, fringed and fat, juicy green cling to the reef. Life begins again as the hapai warm nests nurse anew hatchlings of Aio, Ua'u, and Koloa, part the grasses and sedge to reveal tender caverns for Piko and Iwi. Your pu'u are every beginning and every return. Wai he'e, pu'u o ne hānau aloha, e ola no ho'i, e ola no.
Nu'u by Mahealani Perez Went. You spoke once of running through sands of thorn, through gauntlet of kiavi trees, prized for the savors of their wood fires, an island boy who could not abide shoes no matter the stain. Here again, that coarse ground, thorns, kiavi, their kindling shade in a surround of names, inhospitable. Pu'u ma neo neo, arid, barren, lai o apole, volcanic and cindered, lapehu, swollen, afflicted. But not far away a broad healing meadow, green respite for the weary. These are kinder times. Warning signs are posted for visitors, their tires, far from the fires. Oceanward, a detrital bay bordered with accretions of sand, boulder, and stone, once hoisted on broad shoulders for the building of ancient heiau, temples, oracle towers, Lana Nu'u Mau, and the second sacred elevation called Nu'u, platform for the consecrated and deified, their images perhaps incised, the ones outlined with red ochre, the red reserved for chiefly ones. Upon the inland basalt steeps, the ancient glyphs of Nu'u. Si ke Kukini, the chief's messenger, Kekoa, his spear-wielding warrior, temple dancers poised, Aiha'a, a mother and child beatific, quarried animals, pigs, dogs, starfish, stingrays, turtles, gods who were birds, birds who were human. All were here with their prayers, chants, stories. Fishers, farmers, hunters, gatherers, skilled navigators, negotiators who survived the caprice of rival chiefs, their internecine wars back and forth across the Alinui Haha, channel of great billows smashing. The ancient inscriptions, Mo'olelo stories, also bearing witness to gods in the temporal realms. As when the companions Kane and Kanaloa, scion of water, scion of sea together, summoned forth the sacred springs of Nu'u, Oyana. Nu'u's sweeping winds blow heady this way and that, surly and affecting its chiefs, their inconstancy joined with winds of surrounding Kaupo, Ka'aina o Ka'uape'epa Pohaku, land of the rain that makes one hide behind rocks. The rain's indifference, intermittency, a fitful source of replenishment for Nu'u springs, and dreams that the Ai-o, Alaikea, Koa'ekea, the white-tailed tropic birds, will return, their fluttering and nestling noises below Lualailua, place of peace and double enjoyment. Beyond the teeming village, a scintillant sea, its precipitous depths, Ha'uli, dark and unfathomable. Surround of bay, shining cliffs, boulders, escarpments rise along the flanks of Haleakala to its summit. This too is Nu'u's meaning, an exalted realm of white floating clouds, of white-tailed tropic birds, where Maui reposes in the calm of blossoming sun. Aloha.
Kahili, he aina momona e maoe. Ku'ualoha ho'omana vanui. Number 1, Lani. Hiki mai, e kalae. Aloha vale kalae kaua e. The sun rises in the east, tinting sky and land and sea. Olena sherbet sunlight hues glint golden, blush, pink, coral, tangerine, Titian taste. Starlight sleeps, retreats to Kapiko Keala Omoe. Ika po uli, po ele. Mahialani moonlight fades in the radiant light to wait patiently for twilight, night. Ua huli kai aleleaka. Kahoku no hoaupuni adorns the night sky. Pola lauli, kulu aumue, hushed stillness in the time of Pilipuka. The sleeping forest dreams. Dreaming ikaleva po luhua mea akane. Wakea shapeshifts from po to ao. Moku kapava, ke vehe maila kayao. Ka vehe ana o ke laula oia kapaua. as an iwa soars high, floats on invisible currents of Ea I Kalani, surveilling the serene scene below.
Hiking down to the creek. The luscious canopy gives way to the diaphanous light, filtered through branches of fair cedar and pine. Gold shades engulf the old forest, protecting the creek, protecting the land, bald eagles, spotted owls, red-tailed hawks. The music of the rustling leaves, the harmony of the nursing trees, they all sing when the winds blow by shaking their leaves. Cold diamonds fall on our faces to remind us we exist and live to protect and preserve the beauty. Curly Creek Tiner Preserve offers, beyond the moss, beyond the fungi, beyond the slugs when damp. Curly Creek is a special place found along the shores of Puget Sound, where life flows and grows with every jump the salmon does upstream to their spawning grounds. Shallow pools, hollowed grounds. Nature will last as long as we do, and longer as we grow. A body of water, a body it is, a body that needs us.
By thin desire. I admire your vertical ambition. You shift and settle with wind, despite falling over bluff's edge. You determined to grow up decades, straining towards cloud. I dream of you reaching in all directions, making home in this place that is like an arm, listening for north storms, tracking unusual impulses through crumbled dirt, watching for fallen objects making their way to shore. Did you wait for your own shape to adjust? Ask ocean to introduce you to cousin eelgrass, sing blessings to the foraged fish. I've come to say hello today again. Despite daily struggles to keep balance, I learn again from you how to reorient back to breath, how to dream into our own roots. Thank you.
And the river flows, born from volcanic fires, over 1 million years of movement, and the river flows. In the shadow of Pato, known to the Yakima, others call it Klickitat, and the river flows. Mountain feeds river. Did Kennewick man and his family quench their thirst? Did they stop here as they journeyed east? And the river flows, nurturing crops carefully cultivated by local people, also known by others as peoples who share a name with mountain. And the river flows, water creatures providing food, Klickitat, shadowing Klickitat, nurturing Klickitat. Sacred circle of support. And the river flows.
Welcome to the Salmon School Garden, an ambassador property of Lemhi Regional Land Trust. Founded in 2005 by 4 local ranchers, Lemhi Regional Land Trust serves the communities of Lemhi and Custer counties in central Idaho and is based in Salmon, Idaho. Sandwiched between the Continental Divide to the east and the largest wilderness area in the lower 48 states, the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness, we conserve private lands in a rugged, remote corner of Idaho. Our organization was founded out of the belief that no one knew better how to conserve our private lands than those of us who live, work, and play here. The mission of our organization is to conserve landscapes and lifestyles in central Idaho, including the working ranches, open spaces, and endless fish and wildlife habitat that make our area unique. To date, we have conserved 13 properties through permanent conservation easements, totaling 13,553 acres, and we own and manage an additional 5 ambassador properties, totaling 584 acres. We're so excited to give you a glimpse into our corner of Idaho, including our Hayden Creek Ranch conservation easement and the Salmon School Garden through the eyes of our poets.
The Lemhi, a story of disarticulation. 1. To disarticulate is to make or become disjointed, as the bones of a body or stems of a plant. 2. In summer, when the ditches are full, the river stretches herself dry and bony, like motherhood. The main stem disarticulates from its tributaries, its flow and unfinished sentence. The moss forms scabs on the rocks, the riverbed awash with so many skinned knees. 3. The land is being turned into graph paper, with squares bisecting squares so small you have to squint. The ground is gridded. The fences form phylogenies. 4. There's so much to a single stem of grass, the hairy margin, collar sheath, the auricles, 2 attentive ears extended. When the seed shed, it's called a shattering. The split seed becomes a disseminule. 5. On the stream banks, the old cottonwoods part ways with parts of themselves without pause. 6. But this one piece we held together. Largest tributary to the Lemhi runs year-round. The grass grows and the Angus swell in the brisket. The cottonwood galleries sprout new shoots. The river says whatever it wants to say.
For I will consider the garden's address on 1309 Minnie Street. For it is near the 45th parallel, halfway between the equator and the North Pole. For its coordinates are north 44 degrees, 59.718, west 113 degrees, 56.578. For this great line of earth crosses the valley of the Salmon River. For this solid acre is a rumpus of sunflower stalk and pickling cuke. For the bee balm shakes its tubular blooms. For the green-yellow gourd in that fourth grader's hands is God. For such growth will brew oozes of vegetable goulash. For a girl in the crowd rubbernecks patty pan next to the strawberry patch. For the gray wheelbarrow upends its glaze of rainwater. For the new fruiting hops smell of yeast and apple and garlic. For the fruits of these hops are cone-shaped like their parent flower. For the girl in the crowd will outgrow her mother and father. For the hop plants, each in a sense, have a gender. For there's a boy in the crowd whose name is Wren. For he is of the tribe of shoelace, girl boy, sparrow shape. For the soaked straw bales, aligned on edge, arrange themselves in capital L's. For the letter L is instrument of love's mud leaps and leaf litter glory. For the word Minnie is baby talk for mother. For the prone dirt hoards its spores of the mother story. For the squash are closer to earth than any quadruped. For the mother composed us, thus we lace and leaf mold her. For mothers quash parts of themselves to feed their children. For the salmon river knows to fetch and carry, which means patience. For the river can catch a cork and toss it again. For that freakish pumpkin daily camels its spine. For that yellow crookneck keeps looking back. For mothers feel their plans for a world shoveled under. For untold soils may one day reline the world. For the river can swim quite fast. For it can royally squirm.
Against measure, we know you as unmoving, an overlooked asylum in this loamy slit. Gray, dark tree, the residue of life, of living, born in glacial till and dolomite. If I hold stock still, the crevice sums the drumlin. Wayward gun goes unnoticed in the bulk of this buckthorn plot. Precise, deep-seated grooves. You offer an uncommon subsidy. Look, the arrow in it, stump accessory. Oh, acorn, just to be a lucky seed amongst these large dead branches that patina and who once subpoenaed ships. A largest fruit, masting and tap roots and tall grasses, garter knit with the coyote who costumes a skunk's den. I even envy a salvaged burrow. You port, you gavel, time, shelled clock, your trunks scattered like ticks, judicious fissures, your weathered bands helping the little blue stems along, singing without alms. Praise the age, praise those layers, siren, and to crackle. Sing your yawn, your bow and crown, deep furrow, you brown, alive thing. Thank you very much.
The Land Speaks by Angie Trudell Vasquez. The land speaks to me, calls from outside the car window. We pass valleys, hills, what glaciers made 10,000 years ago when people moved to the edges of newborn waters where ice chunks broke off, became kettle lakes. The sign says basins where ice lay, depressions frozen in time melt, mark the earth, become altered landscapes, birth novel plants, where fish feed and frogs sing, and mushrooms grow, round white saucer hats that tip over in spring from the weight of their halo christening. Blue indigo buntings fly by the stars, chart moonlight migrations. While we humans sleep, our feathered friends leap, follow the call to move. Swans and geese congregate. See 16 pelicans preen, their necks dip to drink, undulate herding fish in the water. They dance in rhythm, circle the prey. Thin species, their beaks lead fish to a net made out of ripples, bubbles of gas and air, lethal concentric circles culling names unknown. Before telescopes, night watchers, moonshine parades, dinosaur return.
Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust works with Colorado's farm and ranch families to conserve open spaces and working lands for the benefit of current and future generations. Founded in 1995, the Cattlemen's Land Trust has continued to deliver conservation solutions in meaningful ways across the state and to provide an important service to the citizens of Colorado and beyond. Conservation brings together many different elements of our society and our communities, from art to recreation to production agriculture. And the land provides many opportunities for us to be inspired around art, around creativity, around innovation. Conserving these important landscapes and these important lands so that future generations have these same opportunities is the work of CCALT. We have grown into one of the largest and most impactful conservation organizations across the country. And for those reasons, and many more, we are proud to be CCALT.
First Calf by Aaron A. Abeta. The heifer is a month late, the peaks still hold snow, the moon a waxing crescent. From vanishing lakes, ancient cities emerge, even the water is overdue. We pray, can we call it that? This imminent birth be uneventful, nothing pulled into this June. Let's call it a wish. May she rise and lick her calf clean. Let's call it an invocation. May she have milk enough to last for centuries. There is always a miracle of some sort, some angel that speaks aloud into the open meadows, telling when and where to witness that which may come late or may arrive with suffering, or better yet, with timeless grace.
An easement. 1. What the mind imagines, the life finds. The puma, the canyon-side cliff, the elk, the grass between ponderosa pines. The merganser, the pond, it's also true for the common golden eye. The beaver eats his willow in the den. There are for otters a pond, there is the partial moon. A river runs through the world and the brown trout gather in the deep pool. A man can cast his line. 2. Imagine the conifer confers on the air a commerce of scent, a cargo of vanilla, and the true economy takes root. Breathe in, breathe out. 3. The mind grows teeth in the old economy. Steer bite down the grass and the knapweed invades. Loggers leave behind the stumps. The flood that shallowed and straightened the meander shallows and straightens that other river, the thought river, the heart. Somewhere in the woods, a bear turns around. What no one knows, none will say. The 2 pillars of rock are burial mounds or not. Decency knocks down the sacred. Wisdom hides from the knowledge it sought. 4. I want some other work, and so do you. The Arizona fescue, the brome. It takes some thinking, I know it does, to bring the grass back to what once it was. Goats and ooze, when it is most tender and before the thistle forms, down to nothing they bite it, the knapweed. Amen, amen. And the cottonwood galley, I have, as you have, seen it, almost been it, in another life yet to come. Countless green flames of the new leaves, and so near noon, noon's endless now, the shadows drop down their dark lace circles straight below, an easement to all we cannot know.
This is Erica Reed reading Grays. In late March, I could not scare up a bird, besides the mustard-bibbed meadowlark and a shrike I might have invented. Weeks later, lark buntings speckle May air like rice tossed at a wedding, while mourning doves sunbathe in the cow trough. Breeding killdeer keep peeping, shrieking. Across acres of space, I am never far enough from new nests. What are the seasons of myself? With verve, a toddler wind buffets a turtle clambering up a cattle path, flushing still more tuxedoed buntings. Thin clouds trace the X-ray of a rib cage. We agree it is spring, this land and me, and its wind-beat hills are the worn teeth of a key. As dusk settles like an idea, coyotes startle any winter right out of me.
A circle within a circle. White buildings floating over tawny river bottom. A ship at ranch or ranch at sea. Floating April 17th, 2022. 8,200 feet. Late winter or early spring. Afternoon weak sun glimmering, a 30-mile wind. The Eye of a May. Meadow, ranch, valley. Nested bowls, hay bowls, a circle within a circle. Moose and mink share the gurgle, the middle of the willows, the winter meander, the Michigan River, on its way to the North Platte, on its way to the Missouri, on its way to the Mississippi. The Eye of a May. The valley narrowed as we ascended and presently divided into a gorge through which the river passed us through a gate, beautiful circular valley of 30 miles in diameter, walled in all around with snowy mountains, rich with water and grass, fringed with pine on the mountainsides below the snow, and a paradise to all grazing animals. Lieutenant John F. Fremont, 1845. Serpentine glaze of sun on wet grass, alpine gracile laced in stream, mountain brome, grama, technicolor willows with red-tail hawk overriding. The Eye of a May. Hayfields, coveted North Park forage to feed the beef we eat for dinner, just like the sign says. Black Angus, Hereford, Simmental, Limousin. A ranch is not a ranch without a rancher to work there. Coyote Ranch, Pea Diamond Ranch, Ginger Quill Ranch, the Eye of a May. A million acres slowly draining north to Slow Wyo, the Illinois River on the west, the Canadian, the Grizzly, the Michigan on the east. Sparsely populated, then and now, ancestral homelands of Ute and Arapaho, ancestral enemies, then and now. Trappers, miners, ranchers, a slow succession of uses, the Eye of a May. Towns like barely a windbreak poke at the blue dome of heaven. Walden, Gould, Rand, Cowdrey, Hartzell. Waypoints and watering holes to tie the wind sky down, or slake the thirst for copper and coal, gold and fluorspar, now oil and natural gas. perched on a bench with calligraphic hand, ranch hand, a river, a scenic writing, or a wriggle north, a circle within a circle, the Eye of a May. Sagebrush country and wetlands, odd from underneath, weather extremes to nest the birds, their airs, their flyways. Ruddy duck, eared grebes, grafalcons, rosy finches, Wilson's phalaropes, Franklin's gull, a circle within a circle. That Arapaho National Wildlife Refuge? Well, that was my uncle, 1967. Other side of 14, water. The Michigan Ditch East, another story. And what remains west to the Illinois, then north to the Platte. My great-grandfather was an Allard. That down in the Willows was the original Allard Ranch. Names for Grandma Eye of a May. Way back, James O. Pinkham, first white man in the valley, come down from Canada. One of his girls must have married an Allard boy, and that's how that got done. Keith Holsinger, 2022. Intermountain Glacial Basin, Pleistocene to Holocene, 1.8 million years into the 10,000s. Bull Lake, Pinedale, names for glaciations, or glaciers, epochs. Tyndall, Roe, Arapaho, St. Mary's. Granitic uses for gravity flows. Branches, nested thyme and beef and hay, a 30-mile wind in mid-April, a kind of life, half below zero. White buildings floating over tawny river bottom. Who sees the black mink loping wild in the wind is free to Wyoming. The Eye of a May.
Here is my home, here bury my bones, by Abby Copang. Here is my home, here bury my bones among the Allards, Butlers, Chadseys, Coits, Hendricks, Holsingers, Ketchums, Riddles, Walmsleys, and Wattenbergers, among the unnamed Utes, trappers, miners, travelers, ranchers, frontiersmen, and thieves. Bury my bones in the shadow of Mount Pinkham, proud standard of my great-great-great-grandfather, James O. Pinkham, the Canadian who, in 1874, passed through for minerals yet stayed his years. Here in the high mountain basin is my home among the North Park ranchers. Here we winter in zeros, befriend the relentless drifts, the snows that embrace our cabins as a mother swaddles her babe, and here, where in fall, just as a sow licks her calf, so the wind roughs at the grain. Here, the sublime spectacle woven, home, bones of the high plains and the wetlands, weaving creeks, rivers, branches, marshes, ditches too. Here, bury my bones.
I'm Marita Gargiulo, and I wrote these haiku while visiting the lands protected by the Hamden, Connecticut Land Conservation Trust. Glacial kettle, a nuthatch hops her way up the maple. Johnson's Pond, a bouncy 3-year-old leads his mom to the water's edge. Timberwood Trail, flat path to the top of the falls, a pleasant surprise. Winterberry Wetlands, the monarch mistakes me for a cardinal flower. Ice Age Rift, the Brethren Rocks find a home in Hamden. Rocky Top, sunlight on the gray boulder, a swing dance.
long before you found this place, and long after you leave. You dream about it. Forests of oak and evergreens, fields of waving goldenrod, and blue-green oceans powered by wind and waves. It is our deep connection to nature that defines us. Within Avalonia, we are sustained by healthy soil, clean water, and something more. It is here that we grow our sense of curiosity and cultivate a relationship with something larger than ourselves. As caretakers, we are guided by our promise to protect and preserve. We manage its wildlife habitats and save its fragile ecology to ensure they are not lost. We do this for future generations, so they can experience the untamed beauty and wonder of being outside. Our land preserves wind their way throughout southeastern Connecticut, and many are closer than you think. Step off the streets of Mystic and explore our many trails near the shoreline. Or go deep into the woods of North Stonington, Ledyard, or Preston, and find a place to call your own. We invite you to connect with Avalonia, to wander and explore. And when you, like us, are moved by the resilience, force, and fragility of this place, you can help. Become rooted to what calls to you. Avalonia.
Bragging Stones by Jose B. Gonzalez. Stones bragging to each other about their strength, laughing at the orange pines, snickering at the softness of the spruce and the fall of a hemlock. How they flex in front of each other like little boys showing off their first biceps. Look at me, know me, they say as they flaunt their muscle rock. But stones being stones, still must be still, and for all their talk, can't walk along the winding trails to see the might that sits atop a hill. There, a survivor of the ice ages looks down at great oaks, hawks, and granite strips, and offers its upper body as a sheltering fort. Its face is weathered with wrinkles that started with snow slides, but its grin tells hikers, bikers, the woods, this is progress.
Listening to the forest. Know the ways of the ones who take care of you, so that you may take care of them. It was dark in there, too dark, and we wanted to hear directly from the hemlocks in the shadowy mausoleum their groves were becoming. Like a council of elders, we walked in the groves a long time listening. Trees talk to each other, we know that now. Root sensitive, sending out chemical messages. Theirs is an animate language not in our alphabet, and they cooperate. They warn. Perhaps they also grieve. Clearly, as we saw, the hemlocks were dying from infestation. Also older oaks and maples, now standing deadwood, weakened by years of gypsy moths, winter moths, drought. The ground beneath the trees was bare. It was dark. And when we shut our eyes, listening, what we heard was not what we wanted to hear. We wanted to conserve, to preserve. Yes, the hemlock said, do that. Cut us down. The downside, loss. The downside, uncertainty. The downside, heavy machinery, a skid trail. We gave it more light, Beth said. At the trailhead now, there are spreading patches of lady slippers. Further in, now blueberries, huckleberries, wild rambling strawberries, and mountain laurels reaching up from their roots, returning. We hear wood thrush, veery, towhee, tanager, ovenbirds, orioles, and this year, bluebirds. From the uncut woods to the patches in the quilt the forest has become, there's new life. We reseed the skid roads with red clover. Plant shadbush, dogwood, sumac, viburnum. Cut back the over-eager beech, planting mid-Atlantic trees to withstand the rising heat of a climate in crisis. Loblolly, Virginia, and longleaf pines. Also tulip trees, oaks, and hickory. It takes work. It takes patience and vision, even as indigenous oak and beech and maple come back on their own. We gave them light, Beth said, as we walked the trails through a burgeoning diversity, and I, for one, hearing this tale of risky preservation, bask in the sunlight of the forest's deep desire to return, to renew. Sustain the ones who sustain you, it is written, and the earth will last forever.
Me and Doris. I stand before her photograph. Isn't she glamorous? A shining star at 6 feet tall, long-bodied and half-smile confident, fur coat wrapping her unending torso. I stand close to the picture and watch her body. But Doris Duke's body is not why I've been invoked to her home, these farms. Arching stretches of curves and shifting mounds, thriving green pushes up blooms from under it, land taking deep breaths in and out. I stand in this earth, this body, deep longing calling me in to rise and resist with her. It's the least I can do, stand and beckon defiance to fill my cup, just as she did. My warm and knowledgeable guide leads me away from the photo into grasslands and patches of milkweed as the brightest bit of orange flutters by, all glory to the monarch. We are just servants in her courtyard as she dances through the green. Yes, Doris still has a message for us under the hot sun as the bobolink's quirky song surrounds us. I'm twirling, peeking over my shoulder, round and round, searching for a glint of the yellow haloed singer, until suddenly there's a stillness in the air. I catch my breath, pause for my dancing. Doris is still speaking to me under her breath, hiding in an eagle's egg, laying in a nest or within the tender meat of a snail. She's there and I'm here, both of us coaxing this land to stay awake even as the sun dips low. Don't shut your eyes just yet. Breathe a little deeper, a little longer. Heaven just here.
a fairy tale forest in the city. At the dawn of spring, I am led to my adopted forest along St. George's Avenue, one daffodil at a time. Straw-colored landscapes accentuate city blocks. Green shoots poke through sidewalk cracks. Birds whistle, chirp, tweet, twitter a good morning to the pink flowering cherry blossoms. An enchanted respite amid the city, oak forest at top, and a marshy expanse below. I am welcomed by a carpet of wild ajuga and the non-native multifloral rose. There are foxholes here, and deer visit, making this a temporary stop on their personal Baltimore woods tour. The forest stream empties into a storm drain, a makeshift dam where robins bathe daily, lush with life, frolicking, splashing, like children on a hot summer day, unlocking the sacred secrets of the fire hydrant. Dancing in the water, sprays bursting skyward, birds and children catching a rainbow arc along the way.
I'm Angela Maria Spring, and this poem is for the Baltimore Green Space, and it's called We Dance Where We Are Planted, for Warren Johnny Shaw. We dance where we are planted, like the jazz of June, sweet trumpet trill afloat past a weekend barbecue pit cookout, laughter deep like the soil we unearthed, so beneath concrete, black and beautiful and rich with nutrients, like our children and elders, future, present, past. This city we never stop flowering in, it's ours to reclaim. Like the wild pieces of us, this land still and waiting between alleyways and slanted backyards and edges, like the stewards before and now, Lumbee, Piscataway, Akahanak, African kin, we seed and weave together, like Anansi holding all knowledge up to the sun. We remember how to garden. We remember how to become like trees. We raise up collards, green beans, Swiss chard, feed that green space in us so it grows and grows and grows.
Thank you for including the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust in the Writing the Land Windblown 2 publication. We are a nationally accredited land trust located in Lowell, Massachusetts, the first planned industrial city in the country. The organization was founded in 1990 by residents with a vision to protect the natural resources upon which the city of Lowell was built. The Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust provides conservation leadership and programs which focus on 4 major areas: land protection, stewardship, environmental education, and community science. Throughout our 3 decades of experience in urban conservation, we have always sought to ensure that our community's unique natural resources are accessible to all. Long before the Trust's involvement in protecting these special places, we recognized that these lands were the unceded lands of the Pawtucket and Pennacook people. Windblown 2 allowed us to engage several Lowell-based poets and photographers in the project. Each brought their own creativity and artistry to the project, helping us to see these projects and properties in a new light. Thank you to the following artists for contributing to this project. Hawk Valley Farm was represented by poet Rezi Ibanez with the Free Soil Arts Collective. Rowley's Farm was represented by several poets, Paul Marion, David Maloney, and Sean Thibodeau. And the West Meadow Conservation Land was represented by poet Sanary Penn with the Cambodian American Literary Arts Association. We were also fortunate to have 2 photographers, Meg Moore and Stephen Nagel, also contribute photographs to the book. Finally, we want to recognize that this project is supported by a grant from the Lowell Cultural Council, the local agency. Once again, thank you so much for including the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust in Windblown 2.
This poem is called Names of the Anthropocene, and there's an epigraph, and it's a quote from a spokesperson from the Massachusetts Audubon Society. They're one of the green groups that is protecting now in a perpetual way the Rowley's farm property that I was paired with for this project. Names of the Anthropocene. Local action is going to lead. Massachusetts Audubon Society. Rowley's Farm, 1953. Mr. Palm grants to Roland J. and Carol R. Perrin the land on Plan Book 51, Plan 75, Book 1240 for a farm, 20 acres. In 1974, son Roland Jr. takes over the farm and adds a tree nursery bordering the state forest of 1,100 acres. Glacial, erratic, spotted turtle, fisher, spruce swamp, radio tower swamp, scarlet swamp, blue dot salamander, coyote, bobcat, deer, fairy shrimp, Frida Lane, amphibian egg mass, breeding phenology, obligate species, minnow trap, fire road, rolling double track, single track bikers, Whortleberry Hill, Huckleberry Hill, Lake Althea, gravel culvert, old quarry, 3 trailheads meet. Pawtucket people, Varnum clan, snowshoes, the playground, scraped 15,000 years ago when the Wisconsin Glacier pulled out. Backtrack, backpack, birch bark, paperback, Blanding's turtle with a yellow chin. Mosaic of wetlands, vernal pools, semi-permanent still waters with no hydrological link to streams. I made a name for myself, Rowley told the Boston Globe. I got the reputation for having the best corn and tomatoes in the area. People like the trees too. They like fresh cut trees. I like the idea of the land staying in open space.
Tucked away in the corner of urban decay, lost in the day and sounds of crisp rustling leaves, as a calm, gentle breeze softly whispers my name and lays claim to the wispy, loose threads of my hair, lifts them in the air, drenched in the glow of the sun. Warm light has now spun straw into strands of bright gold. Such sights to behold in nature's oasis, whimsical places full of rich, scarlet-flushed fern, lush leaves left unturned with hidden treasures to find. Somewhere behind the black shadows and dim moonlight, dark as the night, spurning life beneath fertile soil. Springing coils of vine, skimming the edges of green, unseen and unheard, beyond the winding and whirring, spinning and spurring of human ingenuity.
The stillness could be a painting by Wyeth or Hopper of imagined wind running through rushes, soft creaking of branches, a hidden running brook. But this is a place of hawks, amid desolate stillness, bright colors that are winter muted, the ground of deadwood, the reassurance of mud, imagined conversations drawing me into this picture, this place. The ultimate truth remains bittersweetly out of my reach. The quiet sun in the gray sky. Dogwood snarls attaching to my wool coat, berry bush branches claiming me into them. It's their desperate anticipation of something. A spring with wildflowers unknown. Some life to belie the cracking, snapping dry, grass and fresh fallen ice. Above, a mockingbird. Afar, a chickadee. Imagined, a nighthawk.